Hey friends, today we're going to talk about creating a career out of a hobby. This is part 1 in a series. Stick around. Hello friends, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Jen, single mom, artist, and entrepreneur, and this channel is all about showing other single parents that it is possible to build a life that you love and do it all on your own. So today we are going to talk about a new series that I'm working on about creating a career out of a hobby. That is essentially what I've done with one of my businesses. The other 2 were somewhat planned. As you know, I own 3 small businesses, a boudoir photography business, a stained glass art business, and I'm also a licensed massage therapist. I want to start by talking about beginnings. You can start a small business with very, very meager beginnings, and I have done that twice. My boudoir photography business, I started in my living room. I literally would kick everyone out of the house when I had a client coming in. I would move all the furniture out of the way. I would set up backdrops. I would set up props. I would set up the furniture I was going to shoot on, and I would shoot in the middle of my living room. It took hours of setup and tear down in order to accomplish it, and it was grueling, but I did it. I shot multiple clients under that situation. It worked. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't fun, but it absolutely worked. So you don't have to start big. You can start small. You can make do. So I want to encourage you to know that you don't have to have every single piece and part ironed out in order to get started. However, there are some basics that you need in place. First is some education. Now, I have a BFA in photography, I have a BFA in visual communications, and I have a minor in art history. None of that is required to have started my photography business. I absolutely could have started my boudoir business without having any of those credentials. However, that doesn't mean that you can go start a photography business. We're going to use that as an example for a few minutes. That doesn't mean that you can go start a photography business with zero knowledge, zero education, and zero idea what you're doing. For one, you need to have really good understanding of how your camera works. If you can't use your camera in manual, you need to learn. Are there professionals out there who shoot in auto mode all the time? Yep, I'm sure there are. But should they? Probably not. I always shoot in manual, and I shoot in manual because I'm comfortable with manual because I learned in manual. I'm a classically trained photographer from before digital was a thing. So I learned on a manual camera, I learned on a film camera. I learned how to use all the settings on my camera. I had to process my own film, and I had to develop all of my own prints in the darkroom. While all of that knowledge is not necessary in the digital age, it did give me a really solid foundation that gives me an advantage over people who maybe don't have that foundation. And here is why. Even though film and digital are very different animals, the processes are the same. With film, you really needed to get things right in camera, because if you didn't, while you could alter them in the darkroom, you were going to spend hours and hours in the darkroom trying to correct what you could have gotten right the first time around. The same is true with digital. Can you correct most things in Photoshop? Absolutely. Is it going to be fast? A lot of things, absolutely not. A lot of things are going to take forever. So, getting it right in camera is the key. But if I didn't understand how shutter speed, f-stop, and ISO worked together to make the image that I wanted to make, then it would take me a whole lot longer and be a far less effective for me to get the shot right in camera the first time around. So, education is important. It doesn't have to be formal, but you do need to get it. Moreover, certain things that you may want to turn into a business may have state licensing and regulations surrounding them. For instance, massage therapy in most states require some sort of licensure to be a massage therapist. Indiana absolutely also does. And part of that requirement was, I believe, 650 hours of schooling that included anatomy, physiology, kinesiology, ethics, history of massage, and then, of course, actual massage technique courses. On top of taking the required amount of courses, I also had to pass a national exam in order to receive my licensure. So that's something that you definitely need to check into, is what are the state regulations surrounding the thing that you want to turn into a career? Because if there are some, you need to know what they are and what requirements you're going to have to meet in order to do that. Now, with arts, crafts, and many other creative kinds of careers, you don't necessarily need specialized information in order to do those exact things. If you know how to draw and you draw really well, that's a great basis for being a painter. But it's not necessary. I know several painters who are terrible at drawing, but their painting is amazing. So much of that is so much more subjective that a lot of times the actual craft itself doesn't necessarily require a lot of education. However, to turn that into a business, there may be some educational pieces that you need. For instance, if you're an artist who wants to set up an e-commerce website to be able to sell your artwork, maybe you need to learn about website SEO to make that truly profitable. A lot of community colleges have non-credit courses in things like website search engine optimization that you can pick up for a couple of $100, and they're usually online and you can do them at your own speed and pace. I took a website SEO course a few years ago through Ivy Tech, I believe, and I think it was $199 or something like that. I'm sure everything I learned is out of date now because that's been several years ago. But the point is, if you want to sharpen your skills, a lot of times you can turn to community college options for business, intro to business courses, brand building courses, some marketing courses, anything that you might need to help you out on the business side of things. If there's something that you know you're going to have to do on your own for a while, but you also know you need help figuring it out. Sometimes it's worth the investment to learn how to do it, even if it's something you're going to ultimately outsource, just because knowing how it works and knowing how to do it is a pretty big leg up in the business world. So I highly recommend investing in yourself, investing in knowledge that you're going to need in order to turn that hobby into a career. On top of community college courses, there are also some really amazing websites out there with some fabulous content from working professionals in those fields that may give you a giant boost. For instance, Skillshare is a really great site. You pay for a monthly subscription service, and you can watch as many of the courses on there as you want. At least I believe that's how it's set up. It was the last time I had a membership. Also, Creative Live is another really great platform. They have a lot of photography, a lot of videography, Photoshop, a lot of really great courses for skills that you may want to add to your repertoire. So, I highly encourage that you look for reputable professionals in the area that you want to be in and see what kind of courses they may be offering. See what kind of online or even in-person courses they may be offering. If you're looking to go into photography, an in-person shootout course where they bring in live models and you get to practice, they show you how to do things and then you get to practice those skills, great option. And I highly recommend that you give it a shot. These things can be expensive. They can. I'm not going to lie to you. They can be expensive. But investing in yourself is the best investment you can make. Education is one place where I would not skimp cost-wise. You can start out on a shoestring in so many other ways. You don't necessarily have to start out with an office building or a fancy studio or a lot of overhead. There are ways to turn something that you love into a career and do it without completely breaking the bank, at least in the very beginning stages. There are lots of ways to start out on a shoestring, but skimping on educational needs, not a good way. Not a good way to start. If you need to learn how to do something in order to be successful, spend the money, find the course, find the instructor, do what it takes to learn how to do it. There's a ton, obviously, of free content here on YouTube and all over the internet, and you should absolutely suck up as much of that as you can, but sometimes free content is just not enough. In the end, you're going to end up paying for some courses. Be okay with that, and just know that it's part of the deal. I pay for courses all the time. I can't even tell you how much money I have spent on different courses for different aspects of one of my businesses in the last decade. It's probably more than I want to think about, to be honest. I spend more on education than I do on equipment, and that should say something. Education matters, so find it. Find it any way that you can. It doesn't have to be a bachelor's degree, but it matters. Definitely do it. So this was part 1 in this series on turning a hobby into a career. There is more to come, so please stay tuned. Tell me in the comments what else you want to know, and I will see you soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.